For my side, my programming inside the Dragons and Tigers section, so the Chinese language films, I try to have two principles. One is to show a broad range of Chinese language filmmaking from across the region, the Chinese-speaking region. So a range meaning from larger audience-pleasing films like The Hidden Sword to smaller, independent, one-man productions like Yangtze Landscape. The other principle or mandate I think VIFF has that I'm very serious about is we specialize in nurturing and finding space for young independent directors, independent films that sort of push the boundaries a bit, maybe have a little edge. So I want to make sure that we've got new directors speaking new film languages in the mix. There isn't a hard and fast sort of set of criteria. I look for films that are fresh and new and exciting. But what does that mean? That could mean form or content. Formally, films that do interesting things with film language, like Xu Bing's Dragonfly Eyes this year, which is a pastiche film made up of surveillance footage that he's collected and rearranged into a narrative story. Or I also look for films that have really interesting content, either edgy or sometimes subversive or sometimes just personal content that I haven't seen films talk about before. And an example would be Angie Chan's I've Got the Blues from Hong Kong, which is a double portrait of a Hong Kong artist named Yank Wong and Angie Chan, the filmmaker herself. So it's a documentary about two people's relationship. Speaking about Chinese films in particular, there's of course this well-known explosive expansion in the Chinese film industry, and they make 600 and something films a year now. I think they're the second largest sort of film production country in the world. That doesn't necessarily translate into an explosion of film quality, unfortunately. Now, a lot of those films have a channel easily to get into Canada and the US now. There's a distributor who shows mostly blockbusters and romantic comedies in a number of cities with Chinese-speaking populations, Toronto, Vancouver, Chicago, New York, LA. So there are those extra festival outlets for the pop stuff, let's call it the entertainment film product stuff. So film festivals like VIFF, I think, still serve an urgently needed alternative channel for the films that don't get into the blockbuster distribution system. I'd say, since I'm come down more on the art film and the individual expression side, I'm not an expert on commercial cinema, I'd say make what you're passionate about. Tell stories or experiment with films that you need, stories you need to tell, things that are close to you, things that you think are urgent in your own voice. And if they're strong and they're true and they're powerful, they'll find an audience.